Hey guys, it's Ed from Lucky Hanger 13, and today I'm going to be doing a product review of the 360 Fly camera. The camera itself, kind of thought this was going to be the wave of the future, these 360 cameras, and I think they will be eventually, but right now I don't think they're quite there yet. I'll start off with talking about the 360 HD. I've got both the 360 HD and I have the 4K versions. And to be honest with you, for aerial photography, it just seems like there's not a near enough resolution. These particular cameras, the 360 Fly, only has a single lens. Some of them have double lenses, and so they'll take two different cameras and stitch them together, and then they show a 360, and they actually show almost 360 in elevation and 360 in azimuth. The 360 Fly camera does 360 in azimuth, and then it does 240 degrees in elevation. So you're cutting off a good portion of the bottom of the camera here. So the top here, you'll see basically all the way around the camera, but in elevation you'll see just a little bit beyond the 180 degrees of a level line of sight. So basically you're taking the 360, you're taking the HD, and you're spreading it out over a big area. So it's not like looking at an HD picture coming out of like a GoPro or one of those type of cameras. In fact, in the airplane, when I use the GoPro cameras, I have them on 1080p mode, and even at 1080p mode, they look wonderful because essentially you have a limited size of screen, and so you get a nice resolution across that screen. But here, this is spread out, and in fact, the HD, the 360 Fly HD, is so spread out you really just get kind of blurry as you get further away. They look okay walking through the park, so when I take Rucker on a walk in the park, I can take one of these 360 HD cameras, and it does okay because up close it does not look bad. But as you start heading off into the distance, it just gets blurrier and blurrier. We'll look at some video from some of that so you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So So basically, here on Amazon, you can see they have 4 different flavors of this. They have the HD camera, and this is the version 1 HD camera. I actually purchased one of these. I thought, well, what's the difference? Well, there are some differences, and I can tell you, basically, if you look at this mount, on the bottom here, this mount is actually a quarter turn locking mount. So you drop it into one of these little frames that comes with it. This is what comes in the kit. You get essentially 3 different mounts. One of these is like curved, and one of these is like for straight surfaces, and then this one here is of course a charging port and data port, and then you also get this, which you can mount on a tripod, and it kind of lets you tilt and angle the camera. So that's what comes with this old version, the version 1. It comes with 32 gig of memory, so it has a lot of memory in it, and it does a pretty good job of that, of storing data on there, so you can actually film for quite a bit. But like I say, the pictures on the 360 are so poor that it's difficult to really see any real detail, So for aerial photography, that sort of thing, I just can't recommend the HD, and I wouldn't recommend even for this great price of $99 or $89 on Amazon. I can't recommend buying it. It's a good value. If you're not going to put it on your airplane, or you're going to put it inside your airplane, maybe it's not so bad. I'll show you some pictures I took inside the airplane with it. The 4K version, a little bit different. It's been modernized. You can see on this version here, there's a little light here that tells you when it's charging. On the 4K version, the light, the switch actually has a light around it, and it also has a light around the base, so you can see that it's working like that. Pretty nice. The 4K is a little bit better than the HD version. Essentially, the specs are on like this. So the 4K does 2880 by 2880 at 30 frames per second. When you record at 30 frames per second, you cannot see the live view. If you take it down from there to like 24 frames per second, you can actually see the live view on the phone that you're using to control it. HD version is a 1504 by 1504 at 30 frames per second. Internal memory is 32 gigabytes. The version 2 has 16 gigabytes, and I have the version 2 as well. 16 gigabytes seems to be a pretty good amount of memory you can record for, an hour, hour and a half at least. I've actually recorded for over an hour on it, and I haven't had any trouble running out of memory. So 16 gigabytes, not quite as much, half the memory, but it seems to be enough on the HD version. So that's the specs on that. Both of them come with this 360 director. You can use the 360 director. It's a pretty nice package. I actually like this package a fair amount. It's not an editing package by any means, but you can merge clips together. So if you want to, put some of these together, they're already, oh my God, this is like 5 or 6 gigabytes of storage. So like an hour video is a large file size. So stitching these together, I guess that's something you could do, but the files are already pretty darn large. So I can show you on the inside here, and let me just turn the volume down here. Now here, this is before I did my prop balancing, and you can actually see a lot of vibration in the airplane, and even though I said that the plane was actually in spec, but he was able to remove a little bit, remove a little bit of the vibration down. It was so substantially reduced that these pictures, I wasn't even certain if they were worth showing, but this is the HD version. It does not look bad inside the cockpit. So, if you take a look here, it looks pretty good. You can zoom around and see what's now here. You can see this go hanging down. You can see the thing I don't like about it is I needed to lower this down lower, but as I get in the plane, my head knocks it almost every single time, and for some reason I can't seem to remember there's a camera hanging down there. But as I take off, you can see, you can come outside, see what's going on. It looks kind of washed out because of this bright sunshine and the snow out there, so you get a lot of distortion too. Here you can see it looks all kind of distorted up. But if you're going to just do a video inside the cockpit, it seems to work pretty good. I will say this: the way the mounting base. Let me go over here to the mounting base. I have a picture of it. They have a picture of it right here. This is a magnetic mounting base. You set it in there, it kind of locks into place. It doesn't lock into place. It kind of settles in, and it's keyed so it fits in one way. And then you have data ports and power port here. So the problem with this is that you cannot hook up an external audio to it. So you can't record. You can't use this to record your intercom in the airplane, so that's kind of a drawback to it. The other thing you can't do with it is you really can't keep it charging while you're flying, especially if you're going to hang it upside down, like I had it hang upside down in that other video, because basically this doesn't lock it into place. So this is good for downloading the data and for charging it, but you can't use it in flight. It's one of the drawbacks to the 360 Fly camera, both the 4K and the HD version. So kind of disappointed they don't make this so that you can lock it in place and give you an audio input that you could run your intercom into so that you can record. But here inside the plane, it actually does not look too terribly bad. It doesn't, a little bit blurry, and things like the lines of my shirt here. You can't really get much detail in the cockpit, but you can look around and kind of see what things look like here. And if this was a little bit lower, I think you could see outside. I'd like to get this lower so that I actually see the horizon out the window. And right now I'm in a climb, so it looks like I can see kind of out the front window. But when you're flying level, you can't see because you're kind of sort of below the view. You can see the horizon. You're kind of cutting through the top, and you don't get to see it. So sorry about that. Sometimes it locks up like that too. But that's the 360 version. That's as good as it gets when you do an external video of the 360 version. Let me try to find that. Well, none of those. Turn that sound down. But here you can actually see here. This is actually the HD version as well. You can see, you know, the plane is pixelated. So here I am close, and at any distance away, you can see some pixelization. Everything is blurry out here, so it's really not a good view. You can kind of see up close to the airplane, but even like the tail is kind of blurry and fuzzy. Like I say, I cannot really recommend the HD version. It just does not have the resolution. It's fine for walking in the park. You can actually see, you know, the close part of the wing here. It doesn't look bad. It's kind of a nice sharp edge, but as you get further and further away, the edges look more and more blurred. So we'll go ahead and watch the takeoff on this. You can see the runway, the markings on the runway are kind of pixelated. Even here, this one's fairly close, and it's kind of pixelated. But the neat thing is you can you know, look around and see what it looks like. There we are, breaking ground and into the air. So, you know, the plane itself, like I say, you can see some pixelization. It doesn't actually look too bad, but you know, the rest of it, I mean, look at the hangars here. They're just difficult to see any detail, just because. And by the way, there's hangar 13. It's the one that's open there. That's our hangar. You can see back here the pixelization of the runway. It just looks terrible. So I cannot recommend. I also do not like this wing location for video. The top of the wing has some problems, particularly when it comes to the sunshine. You'll start seeing weird artifacts, this kind of hazy thing. When you mount it under the wing, it looks much better. See the trees there? That's as low as it gets. But see, the trees are just very fuzzy. No real detail. There's the beautiful town of Fulton, New York. But you can't make out any detail on any of it. So looking back, the runway just looks pixelated as you get higher and higher and further away. There's a water tower there that you can't even tell that's a water tower. That's how badly pixelated it is. So I guess I have to say that I'm not too happy with a 360 for aerial, you know, stuff. If you're taking it to the park to walk your dog and you want pictures of that, that works pretty well. And if you just maybe want to look inside, but the problem is with the inside, you don't get any audio from the aircraft. You don't really get much detail of anything. Now you can process that. You can actually record your audio on a different camera and then use that on this using like the software I use. Pinnacle Studio is a really good software package. It actually will edit 3D videos with it. So the 4K version is a little bit better off. I do like the 4K version better. Let's take a look at we'll start off with the under the wing version. I believe this here, I'd actually took off and I flew in the middle of winter. Of course, when I got this, it's getting a little bit warmer out, but I flew in the middle of winter. The temperature was like 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and as I flew, the camera just kind of recorded for like 10 minutes or so, and then it shut down, and then it would come back and record for a few more minutes, and then it would shut down. So it does not handle the 20 degrees with 110 knot wind or 110 mile an hour wind. It does not handle that well. And it looks like kind of like a camera that doesn't have a sufficient speed memory card. So if you have a bad memory card, sometimes you'll see and I've done that because I just was playing with some memory card. You know, you choose one of these low speed cards in a camera and you try to record at high speed. You know, 360 at 60 frames per second, or 1080p at 60 frames per second, and you just get dropouts all over the place because it just with that slow memory. So here I am on the runway getting to take off, and I realize, hey, I gotta turn my camera. I actually stop the roll, turned on the camera. By the way, whenever you're doing stuff like this, a lot of distractions you can run into. You just want to be careful because when you're close to the ground, you know, that's not a good time to be turning on your camera. It's best if you can do it like here, stop cameras. And so I had some GoPros in the cockpit as well. So here I am blasting down the runway, taking off. We'll go ahead and watch the takeoff on this, and we'll zoom around and maybe watch a landing. So what I did here was, because first video dropped out before I could do any landing, I just took on, did some video of the ground and whatnot, using the 4K camera. See here,
off. Beautiful airport. I just absolutely love the Oswego County Airport. One of the things this kind of camera is good for is you can take a look and see there that I've kind of drifted off to the side, a little bit of a right crosswind. Of course, if you're looking at it, it's a left crosswind, and you can see I've blown a little bit to the right. So you can actually use this to help analyze your takeoffs and lands. Also, maybe to familiarize yourself with some of the aerial views at an airport you haven't flown at before. So if you're checking out pilots in an airplane and they haven't flown in the area before, this would be a good way to show them some of the sights around the area. Here, a little bit better. You can see some detail in some of these here, but as you get further out, once again, they kind of blur out. You also hear that you didn't do this on the 360K. You see a lot of curvature of the Earth. It's not really curvature of the Earth. It looks like a distortion in the video from the camera, from the way it works. But up close, you kind of see it looks good. I like to down at the ground and look around, and you also don't get this from the sun quite as bad. All in all, I do think that this camera is probably worth it, but it's not the wave of the future. I thought maybe I would use these 360 cameras as opposed to mounting like 3 or 4 GoPros on the airplane. Maybe just mount one, but the resolution, even at 4K, not till it gets to like 6K or 8K, do I think this will be a worthwhile method of aerial photography. Oh my gosh, you can see here the blur, the blurriness, and the detail. Doesn't look bad down here. As you get further and further away, it looks worse and worse. We can look straight down, and not too bad looking straight down. There's a guy, little less. And like I say, this is an effect that's particular to aviation. It is not necessarily a thing that you see when you take this to the park. And I took these to the park, and I recorded Rutger around, and got lots of video of Rutger walking and I walking together. And here I am turning downwind. I'm going to do some crash and dash landings here just to show you what it looks like. And I'm going to zip ahead a little bit. And here I am coming in on final. And so, you can actually use this to kind of sort of analyze your landings, perhaps. And you could tell that was probably a little bit firm on the landing. It wasn't a terrible landing, but you knew you arrived when you got it. So, and let's go ahead and go back a smidgen, and you can watch the flaps. I got full flaps there. We're coming over the runway. Start a round out, kind of flare, boom, and we're there, and we're down. Now I'm prepping for the next landing. You can see the flaps, getting pulled up. So I think, this works, and you can use this camera. I think you can use it, like I say, for showing, some aerial views of the airport. Here's the Oswego County Airport. You can see things like sorry guys, try this again. Now you can see here, because I mounted upside down, you just off the whole top of the view here, so you're really not, that's the highest you can see. Some cases, your limited view with this camera. I have some other cameras that are full 360 in both elevation and in azimuth, and we'll reproduce some of these with that. But I don't think that they're 4K cameras as well. I don't think they're going to be any better in terms of visual acuity or anything like that. So I just am not certain how worthwhile it will be from an aerial photography point of view. There's enough here that you can do that, you can show people the local area. There's the nuclear plant over there blowing steam off, out the top. The airport with its 2 runways. We can turn back this way. There's the beautiful town of Fulton, New York.
but generally speaking, that you can. And we'll go ahead and watch this landing, and then I'll kind of give you the summary at the end here of what I think about the whole thing. But essentially, kind of a neat camera for doing some things. There's some, you can analyze your landings, you can analyze your takeoffs, you can you can use it to train people to what the local area might look like if they've never flown in this area before. So there's some good things you can do with the camera. Here I am getting ready to turn final. And I actually took this out recently, and I did some additional video. And unfortunately, I had one of the worst landings I'd ever had. I'm gonna try to upload these videos to upload this. This is the review video, and then I'm gonna upload some example videos, the HD version, and then the 4K version of videos, and then you guys can watch those on YouTube and see what you think. So once again, coming in on final, this is my next crash and dash. Looking good. Rounding out. Oh, come back. And we're down and down. That landing was a little better, and it actually was. You can see that the got a good flare in there, and it kind of stopped my vertical spine, and we actually touched down pretty good. Let's see that one more time. Coming in. Watching the shadow come together, and touchdown. Looks good. And you'll see the flaps go up, and I think I just did 2 landings on this. I don't know if I did another one. But yep, oh my God, I got to tell you something. New York is a cold, cold state in the wintertime, and you wouldn't notice so much unless you're trying to work on an airplane. Oh my God. This day was, I believe this day was 25 degrees, so this day was a little warmer than the first flew, and the camera did okay. This weather, 25 degrees, the camera actually did okay. It didn't shut down. Now, I only flew for about 20 minutes to do 2 touch and go things. So it actually did okay then. And the snow's been melting, so the temperature gets above 30 degrees during the day now, but it drops down to super cold at night. So you can see the snow is melting, and there's areas of clear there. So guys, basically my recommendation: skip the HD version of this camera. It can be got at some pretty good deals out there, but even the 4K versions of this camera, I picked up one that was used for $110 and shipped, and I picked up another one that was on clearance for $150. So I picked up 2 of the HD versions. I had planned on mounting them on the end of the wing here, so this is I have a camera mount on the top side, and I have a camera mount on the bottom side, and I figured I could put 2 of these on the end of the wing, and then stitch the 2 videos together to make a full 360 in elevation and in azimuth. But I just don't have the software to do that just yet, and I haven't quite figured out how to do it. I will say this: as you see the airplane here in the 4K version, if you remember what the HD version was, nice clear lines, you don't get a lot of pixelization. As you start looking off in the distance, you can start seeing the blurriness and the pixelization. But up close, the 4K version actually looks halfway decent. So I believe this is the video that has the bad landing on it. So I'll upload this one. I don't know why it does this. It seems to lock up on me. And we'll watch a takeoff and a landing. You can still see out here, pixelization is kind of blurry, as those trees are looking blurry. And then you get these weird artifacts. When you mount it on the top of the wing, you can see the artifacts from the sun, and you'll see that throughout the video. There it is again. So if you look in certain directions and orientations, you don't get that with it mounted on the bottom side of the airplane. I also have a fleet of drones, and you can mount this on the bottom of a drone and get some pretty good video as well. The good thing about a drone is it doesn't get as high as an airplane, so the video doesn't look quite as pixelated or quite as bad. You can actually see the runway markings. If you remember on the HD version, oh my God, they were terribly pixelated. Now they're getting worse as we get further away. You can see the end of the runway here is looking pretty pixelated. Turn around here, and this time I'm actually maintaining center line for the most part. As you can see, it looks, here the pixelization looks terrible, and that's as low as it gets. So once again, the top of the wing is not a great place to mount one of these. And I believe the first thing I did was go around and do a touch and go, and then I headed out to let's zoom forward a little bit. And this looks like I'm turning base. So there I am turning base. And you can almost see some of my face in there too, huh? Look at that. So I do think that this camera is a better camera. And if you want to get one and you get one at a good deal, it's probably worth it. But once again, it's not the end-all solutions. This is not the sort of thing. So I'm going to put some stall strips on the wing and do some stall series before I put the vortex generators on. I thought I could use a 360 camera for that, but I'll be honest with you, I just don't think that's going to be, as good as using the GoPros or the Sony cameras. I have a whole variety of different sports cameras, and the GoPros. I think the Sony cameras are sometimes a little better in some aspects than the GoPros, but the GoPros are so nice because they're so common. You can get ND filters for dirt cheap and that sort of thing. You cannot get an ND filter for one of these 3D cameras. You can't use it in flight. You can't connect it to your intercom. So there's some downsides to it. And, I should turn off the audio on it because, quite frankly, just hearing the wind rush by is not a good thing. Here we are coming in for a landing. And there we are. So, anyways, guys, that's the Fly360. I do think it's a... Okay, computer. I do think it's a good package. I do want to say that the... comes with a software package for your phone, and the software works really good on the phone. By the way, the 360 Director, 360 Fly Director, which is the software we were just looking at, there's no way to delete the pictures off of the camera with that. You have to use basically the phone to do that. You can also download all the pictures to your phone and watch the videos on your phone if you want, or upload them. You can actually stream to live media with these cameras if you're so inclined. But the software package is a very nice package, both for both the iOS and I do like the 360 Director. It seems to be a pretty decent package. So I do think this is a worthwhile camera. It's one that you can strap on the bottom of your wing or on the bottom side out of the shade so you don't get the artifacts from the sun on a bright sunny day, and you get a good view of inside or takeoffs, landings, and your alignment with the runway. So I recommend it. I think it's a good camera. I would not say this is the end all of cameras, but if you got $150 extra and you find one used somewhere and you get a good deal on it, then by all means, I recommend it. And I would skip the HD version though. So, anyways, guys, that's